Hey everybody, welcome to GMG Review. Today we're taking a look at Hero Quest Rise of the Dread Moon, a quest pack expansion for Hero Quest that adds a whole lot of stuff to the game and is actually a sequel to another expansion pack where you rescue an elven princess. Now you gotta go back to her kingdom where things have gone horribly wrong. It contains a brand new character type, the Knight, a bunch of elven mercenaries you can hire to fight with you too, and a narrative campaign to play through. Where it's kind of like a hard mode campaign because it's designed to be a follow-on from other campaigns and expects your heroes to be kind of leveled up. So there's a lot less restoration in between missions, and generally it's a bit more of a difficult sort of adventure. So what do we get in the box? Well, we get some NPC counters, we get some renown counters, we get a bunch of things like caltrops and bombs, disguise tokens, mirror tokens. This is the courtyard token over here. These are other different NPCs that you can encounter. And then we have our reputation points as well. You get your companion app download, so a QR code if you don't want to play as Zargon or have an, if you want to do solo play basically, or cooperative play, as opposed to doing someone being Zargon, being the DM. You can use the companion app. It's for iOS and for Google Play. And you're gonna get a whole pile of miniatures and of course the cards for all the various new items and magic gizmos and spells that are in here too. So what do we get? We get some cultists, we get the new hero, the Knight, we get some elven baddies, assassins, warriors, and archers, table, an entry and exit point, because a lot of the missions you don't go through the spiral staircase like you would in a normal core box Hero Quest game. You're gonna start in one door and end at the other. And you get a new little hard plastic, I don't know, wardrobe. I can't remember the exact name for it. It looks like a wardrobe, basically. And these are kind of new sort of takes on classic Hero Quest pieces, like the table, which was a card stock with plastic ends in the original version. And of course, this would have some candlesticks and skulls stuck on it in the old days too. In the bottom here, you're going to get even more miniatures. So you get some transparent miniatures, which is all the rage now in Hero Quest. You're going to get some specters and a large specter as well. You can see those are kind of all elven themed. Now you get some elven knights, some elven statues. You get a torture rack, which is also a like mystical trapped person in here. It's all transparent too. And you get the wizard's table. Again, this is another classic Hero Quest piece done up in hard plastic with its skulls and orb of, well, I guess like all-seeingness. Then you get your elven mercenaries. You get like an archer type, a fighter type, a rogue type, like an assassin type, and a guard type, all in purple plastic. So once again, if you're not a painter, all this stuff comes in sort of like the right color, so you can just throw this down and play. And man, really adds a lot visually to the table, let me tell you. And thanks again, I guess, for Avalon Hill and Hasbro saying along this is a complimentary copy to review. So once we've gotten through the components here, let's have a look at the actual quest book. What are we getting into if we play this? Well, as I said earlier, this is designed to be a follow-up to a different mission pack. The mission pack that this is a follow-up to is called the Mage of the Mirror. And as with other games, you have to have the core box, obviously, to play through this. You get some items, you get caltrops. They basically stop you. You have to roll a die when you go through them. If you roll a white shield, you can keep moving. Otherwise, you immediately stop and lose the rest of your movement. A reagent kit that can be used 5 times at the alchemy station to make various potions. It's basically like an ingredients box, and you can use it to make various things, crafting potions. A smoke bomb, which has a counter as well. And until the monster's next turn, all heroes move unseen through it, so you can't be triggered basically to move towards them by Zargon. Like I said, the Dread Wraith's in here, 2 assassins, 2 Magus guards, 2 elven archers, 2 elven warriors, all the elf mercenaries. The wooden exit door and the iron entrance door, the rack, the arcane prison, a sorcerer's table, a cupboard, a table, and the 2 stands for the mirrors. The old school bottom stands here for some of the cardboard. You get the Knight, and all of your other sort of gubbins to play, like the hideout. So one side of this card stock thing is going to be a hideout to hide your characters in. And it's basically where they hang out in between rounds. So the idea is that they are sort of like, they're doing like an insurrection, right? Like there's been an evil takeover of this Elven Kingdom after you rescue the princess in the Mage of Mirrors, and you're trying to like make your way through the city to basically like solve the mystery of what's going to go on. All of the traitorous Sir Ragnar from the first mission of Rescue Sir Ragnar has come to the elves and brought like this insurrection with him. So the things are not all well. There's an evil mage, there's cultists, obviously there's the good elves and sympathizers who are hiding you in between missions, but you only regain a certain amount of health in here. You do get the alchemist table in here though, so if you do have the alchemical reagents, you can make yourself potions and stuff in between games. Some core rules here for starting and ending a quest, like using the entrance and exit door, how ethereal monsters work moving through walls, large monsters like the Wraith taking up multiple spaces. This was kind of stuff that Against the Ogre Horde had that for the first time, but it's sort of like done again in here. And they're sort of like the same, it's handled the same way. You get Dread Moon spells, so a new spell pack. That is, I try and conserve these to like keep my cards from flying around in the box, but I'm never good at getting them on and off. All right, screw it. I'll just keep the one. So your dread spells are going to be, come on, just keep one of these good so I can at least like fold these back up again. Those are night skills, you are the knights, these are the mercenary stats, I'll show you these in a minute. And these are the spells. Oh no, so there's monsters. The dread spells are alchemies. You can make these at the reagent table. There they are, dread spells. These are specialty spells for this because the Dread Moon is coming. There is Channel Dread. This spell may be cast on any one hero to exhaust their life force. Roll a red die. For each monster adjacent to the caster that can cast the spell, add 1 point to the die roll. On a 1 or 2 or 3, the hero resists it. On a 4 or 5, they lose a body point. On a 6+, they lose 2 body points. So the more like imposed, or the more sort of like oppressed he is by having different monsters around him, the more the hero will suffer the effects of that spell. Some inspectors. This spell conjures up a group of the undead. To surround and protect the spellcaster, roll red dice to determine how many appear. 1 or 2, it's 1. 3, 4, 5, it's 2. On a 6, it's 3. And then Dreadlights. This spell surrounds any one hero in the spellcaster's line of sight with eerie tongues of ghostly light. All monsters roll 1 additional attack die when attacking the affected hero. The spell can be broken at once or at the start of any hero's future turn by rolling a red dice, and on a 5 or 6, it's broken. Basically, you get like called out, like it's like a targeted spell, like it spotlights people to try and blow them up with bad guys. And other core rules changes. So first of all, mind points. You can have your will sapped a lot by the monsters in this mission. So for instance, the Dread Wraith and the Spectres. Each Spectre is undead, ethereal, and may cast the following dread spell at will: Channel Dread. And then each Dread Wraith is ethereal and can cast one of the following dread spells once per quest: Dreadlights, Channel Dread, Fear, and Summon Specters. So you can make more Specters, actually. And whenever you do damage with these guys, the hero's attack and defense dice can be temporarily increased by some spells. Additionally, mind points gained from certain artifacts will be lost if a hero later restores their mind points. When rolling attack against an ethereal creature, a hero must roll a black shield instead of a skull to hit the target unless they are using a spell or artifact. So basically you have a 1 in 6 chance of hitting them. And then ethereal monsters are unaffected by all spells, including caltrops placed by other heroes. So on page 36 and 37, there's more information on monsters, but these guys will do lots and lots of damage and are very hard to kill. And your mind points can go to 0 in this one by taking mind damage. If they do go to 0, you go into shock, and you only have to roll a single attack or defense dice. 1 attack dice and 2 defense dice, and you can't increase it in any way. So like your armor, your weapons, nothing makes it better because you're just kind of catatonic. Like your mind points are being like drained by the things that you're seeing and the things that you're doing. And then Elven Archers, they're interesting where they have, you look at the Elven Archers stat line. They roll 4 attack dice at range, but in base contact or like next to each other adjacent, they only roll 1. So they're highly dangerous at shooting because they have crazy, like super good bows. The warriors are 4 attack dice in melee and then 3 defense dice. So easy and squishy for the elf archers, but at range they are super duper dangerous. And the Magus guards, they're 4 attack dice and 4 defense dice, the elfin knights. All right, so then we're into additional artifact cards. So there's some new artifacts like the Raven's Talon, the Cloak of Shadows, the Scales of Elathorn, the Dawn Shield, and then the Phoenix Ash. These are sort of bonus treasures that can be done in here. And they're used in the same way as artifacts. You get some cool treasures on top of that, like poisons, unidentified ingredient. Used as a reagent to craft 1 random potion drawn from the alchemy deck. So whenever you draw, you can pick out of the alchemy deck if you're making one specifically. You have to draw it random if you're making it with the unknown ingredient, because you're just throwing things in vials and hoping it all works. And then your artifacts, the Raven's Talon's a weapon. Using stagger, roll 2 attack dice. On your turn, you can reroll any 1 attack dice that lands on a black shield. Cloak of Shadows, as an action, you may use the power of this cloak to become insubstantial. On your next movement, you can move through and pass through rock and veil of mist as if Pass Through Rock and Veil Mist have been cast upon you. The Scales of Elethorn. Armor. This enchanted armor grants you 1 additional defense dice. When you attempt to resist the effects of a dread spell when wearing this armor, roll a die. Roll an additional die, sorry. And this artifact can be combined with helmets, shields, and or wizard's cloaks. So you have like some cool scale mail. And the Phoenix Ash. You use this artifact once per quest when you go to 0 body points when you die. So you reduce them to 1 and then roll a red dice. On a 5 or 6, the artifact is lost. Otherwise, you get to keep the artifact. So basically, it's like it's a final damage shrug, but the Phoenix Ash could run out every game. And you get the Dawn Shield, the spell scrolls as additional artifacts. So Swift Women, Pass Through Rock spell scrolls. They're like 1-use spells that anybody can use. And the Dawn Shield is an armor. The shield grants 1 additional defense dice. And once per quest before any hero's defense dice are rolled, you can use the shield's power to force the attacking monster to roll all their attack dice. This artifact cannot be used with the battle axe and staff, so no two-handed weapons can be used with it. Then you get a pile of mysterious treasures to add to the treasure deck, like a cool mysterious flowers or reagent. And you can craft a potion of dexterity or a potion of defense. A sacred plant to make potion of restoration or holy water. Random with the unidentified ingredient. And then the poison, roll a combat dice. If it lands on a skull, lose a mind point. On any other roll result, you're unharmed. Return this card to the bottom of the deck. So sometimes you just accidentally make poison. When you try it, it all goes bad. And we got equipment cards for some of the things we can buy, like the hand axe, the helmet, the smoke bombs, the reagent kit, and the caltrops. And that's kind of our card assets. So the last thing is when you are going to be disguised. So you can wear a disguise at sort of any mission. You can basically like disguise yourself an elf and pretend that you're not some kind of like hero trying to do bad things. You're not some kind of insurgent. If you do that though, you cannot make an attack other than unarmed, a dagger, short sword, or hand axe or staff, because you have to be something you can conceal. You can't cast any spells, and you cannot wear any armor, bracers, or helmets because you're in disguise. And you have to possess like a disguise token. You retain your prohibited equipment, but it can't be used while you're disguised. So as soon as you decide to like empty your backpack and like gear up, then your disguise token goes away. A player with disguise token must surrender it if they ever break the rules of use. A hero remains disguised as long as they don't use any prohibited equipment. At any time during their turn, they can surrender it automatically and use their equipment. And basically, you're using a low profile. So while you're disguised, there are like certain bonuses that will be sort of explained during the quest. And then if you're unarmed, you roll 1 attack dice and 2 defense dice if you're unarmored. You can drink potions. A hero can drink a potion at any time. No action points required. There's no limit to how many potions a hero can have on them at any given time. Potions' effects and how long they last will be on the card. And then Elven Mercenaries. In this quest pack, mercenaries are loyal soldiers of Elethorn that have been driven into hiding. These mercenaries must become available to hire as the quest progresses, and heroes must find them before they can be hired. For all of the quest notes for finding different mercenaries. So basically, the mercenaries are all unlocks. The striker costs you 100 gold coins per quest, but he's like 4 attack, 5 defense with 2 body and 2 mind. So they're kind of squishy and easy to kill, but they are very, very good at fighting. The glaive is move 6, attack 3, defense 3, 2 body, 2 mind, and they can attack diagonally. The arbalist gets to shoot 3 attack dice at range using a crossbow. And then they use a broadsword when they're attacking in melee with 2 body and 2 mind. And the scout has 2 attack, 3 defense, but moves 9, and they can disarm as if they were a dwarf. So it's 75 for the arbalist and glaive, 50 for the scout, and 100 for the striker. Once mercenary's been unlocked, the heroes can hire the mercenary between quests by paying the gold cost listed. More than one of the same type of mercenary cannot be hired, so you can only get 1 of each. You can't get like 4 strikers or whatever. The glaive wields a polearm to attack diagonally. Mercenaries cannot search for traps or treasure with the exception of the scout, who can disarm traps like a dwarf. And mercenaries are always disguised regardless of what weapons and armor they use because they're elves, so they're better at blending in basically when you're going to fight. And now I'm not going to go through too far because I don't want to spoil the story of this. Now they should be played in order. The goal here is that you're going to play these as a single storyline, starting off with the first mission. You get your symbols for showing like what each of the different elf types looks like. And the basic premise is the Princess Melandriel has been safely turned into Queen Terralia and her people, but despite the festivities, I fear a great evil still simmers in Elethorn. A contingent of guardian knights, loyal swords of the realm, have been sent to aid Queen Terralia and bring a light to the shadowy forces seeking to destroy them. But our communication with them suddenly ceased. I initially believed it was due to the prince's return, but I have to come to discover that the mirror gates that once connected to Elethorn have been tampered with, sort of like the webway in Warhammer. preventing travel and communication within the kingdom. In our last correspondence, the knights disclosed that they were following the trail of the traitorous guardian knight, Sir Ragnar, who has allied with Zargon's forces in Elithorn. We're now approaching the Night of the Dread Moon, an astrological event that happens once every 1,000 years. The Dread Moon bolsters the dark influence of the dread magic across the land. Unfortunately, the pages of Lortorm offer little guidance as the shimmering runes shift with Elithorn's uncertain fate. It will require time we do not have to decipher their meaning. Heroes, if you unravel the civil unrest plaguing the Elven Kingdom, and if the lore tome and my intuition are correct, your presence will not be accepted kindly. See what Queen Guerrilla and the Guardian Knights cannot see. Stop the force of the Dread from destroying the Kingdom of Elithorn as the Night of the Dread Moon approaches. Dread magic clouds my power. Guard yourselves, heroes, and remember well that the darkest of nights must yield to the rising of the dawn. So that's the goal, and you're going to play through all of these, starting with like an infiltration mission inside a waterway, which is kind of cool. So certain rooms are all flooded, and then ending with like a final showdown with the big boss, which I won't reveal, but it ties to the Mage of Mirrors expansion pack. You get a cool conclusion, which again I'm not going to show, and of course your nice quick reference here for all your monsters, and a make your own mission sheet, which I, as a child, photocopied and did a lot of. I even cut out these little things and like stuck them on when I was a kid too, so it's very fun to do. You could also scan these if you want, like just scan this section, I believe, because it gives you permission to photocopy it, and then like digitally like place them off if you want to make your own maps. But which is super fun and super easy. So a lot of what gets revealed, sort of like what the tokens can be used for and how you unlock people. Oh, I didn't go for the Dread Knight. Will progress throughout the mission, and the missions will tell you when they become available and what they are. That's pretty cool. Starts with a short sword and a shield. Has 2 attack and 3 defense, 7 body and 2 mind. Kind of just a barbarian basically, but not quite as good. His whole thing is armor does not restrict your movement speed. So even if you're like super armored up later on, your movement stays the same, which is always going to be 2 red dice. You do get some skills though. Use this skill on an enemy hero's turn when a hero next to you takes damage to cancel that damage once per quest. So basically if you're next to somebody, you can just reduce damage to 0. Stalwart, use this skill when your body points reduced to 0 instead of reducing to 1 once per game. So you have like a damage shrug once per game. And then Knight's Challenge, use this skill when a wandering monster is revealed in the same room as you. You are now considered the treasure searcher for the encounter. So someone else reveals one while searching for treasure, you jump in and fight the monster instead. And the monster's placed next to you instead. So you can call it somebody. So he's a really good minder for sort of like weaker melee characters or things like spellcasters. He pairs really well with like mages and sort of like the elf, like people who are more susceptible to like getting jumped by monsters and fighting by themselves in melee. He'll jump in front of that fight and make sure they don't get surprised. So there it is, Rise of the Dread Moon, another narrative campaign pack for more experienced heroic parties in HeroQuest. I gotta say, when they first rebranded and relaunched HeroQuest, I did not expect it to be this well supported. They are really going hard with like some fun, new, and cool expansions for this game. The models look really good. Again, they're of a relatively high quality for board game pieces. Like the blades bend but aren't bent out of the box. The bows are all in good shape and they're very paintable. They are PVC, which I would say you want to make sure that you have the proper primer for these to make sure that the paint goes on okay. But other than that, man, they are very high quality for board game pieces. And this continues to be like a fun, you know, like you can just keep playing. If you have a gaming group basically that liked playing through the 14 original HeroQuest missions, you're kind of spoiled for choice now as to what to do next. And the variety of monsters and additional scenery and stuff means you're building a very cool dungeon crawl collection of miniatures and terrain that can definitely be used outside of HeroQuest too. Like just the value of these boxes as like cool bits of dungeon scenery, dungeon scatter, and like a massive collection of monsters is great for any RPG. So I think this like Hasbro collection really does do a good job of balancing playability, replayability, like comfortably expanding the very simple core mechanics of HeroQuest with things that are interesting and compelling and make you feel like you're in a setting. I like the disguise option. Like I like that this is the rogue. This is the Midnight Rogue version of HeroQuest, right? This is the one where you get to disguise yourself and dress like an elf. You get a new hero, you get a bunch of new bad guys, you get mercenaries you can hire. You get a little lodging that you go back to every time. Like the barbarians clearly sleep on whatever that like snow tiger pelt is. You get every one of the core heroes like weapons kind of lying around in here. It's well illustrated. It's obviously done with love. It feels like this design team at Avalon Hill gets Hero Quest, if that makes sense, right? And with the app as a ability to run it solo and co-op, you've got lots of longevity in there too for people that just want to pick it up for the miniatures and then give it a try for themselves. Or want to play it with like younger people or newer hobbyists who don't necessarily, you don't want to be the bad guy and be sort of competitive to them. It's a lot more fun when you're guiding new players to be part of that experience. And this app, I think, does a good job of doing that too. So well done once again, Hasbro and Avalon Hill. I think this is one of the better hobby and especially tabletop products you guys have made in the last few years, and your expansions continue to be very cool. So big thanks for watching. We'll see you for another one of these next week as I check out the new hero expansion for the Wandering Monk. And we got another GMG review today for Dread Knights. So thanks for watching. Thanks a lot, Mash. Wargaming.